call came from a phone line that had been disconnected for 11 years. I knew that because I was the one who had removed it from the system. It was February of 2019, and I was working as a telecommunications technician on the northeast coast of Newfoundland. Most of my job involved replacing damaged equipment, testing backup batteries, and driving to small communities whenever weather knocked something offline. That evening, I was finishing paperwork in our depot when the monitoring computer showed an incoming maintenance call from Cape Alder Station. Cape Alder was an old government radio site on a headland about 40 kilometers away. The tower was still used by 2 private companies, but the building itself had been abandoned. There was no permanent power, no working telephone, and no staff. The number on the screen belonged to the landline that had once been inside the equipment room. I answered because I assumed the identification was wrong. At first, I heard only wind. Then a man said my employee number, not my name, my 6-digit employee number. He told me the backup batteries at Cape Alder were overheating and asked me to attend immediately. I asked who he was. The line went dead. Our automated system had already created a service ticket. It listed the caller as Federal Site Supervisor, although no supervisor had been assigned there in years. I called our overnight dispatcher in Gander. She could see the ticket, but she could not see who had submitted it. According to her screen, the request had entered through an older government maintenance portal that was supposed to have been shut down. We had freezing rain expected after midnight. If batteries were overheating inside a sealed building, waiting until morning could destroy equipment shared by several coastal communities. I signed out a company pickup and left. The road to Cape Alder passed through 2 small towns before turning onto an unplowed gravel access route. Snow was blowing across the open sections, but visibility was still decent. About 10 minutes from the site, my work radio clicked. A man asked if I had reached the gate. It was the same voice from the phone. I told him to identify himself. He said, "You're in Unit 14. You should be seeing the tower light now." I looked through the windshield. The red tower beacon had just appeared over the ridge. Our trucks had numbers on the doors, but mine was coated in road salt. Nobody at the tower should have been able to read it from that distance. I stopped and called dispatch on my cell. The dispatcher told me there had been another update to the ticket. It now claimed I had inspected the site and confirmed smoke inside the battery room. I was still 3 kilometers away. She told me to turn around while she contacted the RCMP. Before I could move, headlights appeared behind me. They came up quickly and stopped close to my bumper. It looked like a dark pickup with a roof-mounted work light, but no company markings. My radio clicked again. The man said, "The gate is open. Keep going." I locked the doors and put the truck in reverse. The pickup behind me did not move. There was not enough room to turn around, and the snowbanks were too deep to pass it. I drove forward because it was the only direction available. The access gate was standing open, just as the caller had said. The chain had been cut cleanly and placed on the ground. The dark pickup followed me through. Cape Alder Station consisted of a tower, a concrete equipment building, and an older storage shed near the cliff. The tower beacon was working, but every exterior light had been removed. I parked with my headlights pointed toward the building. The pickup stopped near the gate and switched off its lights. I stayed inside and called 911. The signal dropped twice before the operator answered. I gave her the site coordinates and explained that another vehicle had followed me in. While I was speaking, the steel door of the abandoned equipment building opened. A man stepped outside wearing a reflective jacket and a white hard hat. He held up an identification card, but he was too far away for me to read it. He walked toward my truck and pointed at the building as though he expected me to follow him. The emergency operator told me officers were coming from the nearest detachment, but the road conditions would delay them. The man reached my passenger door and pulled the handle. When it did not open, he knocked on the window. He looked about 50, clean-shaven, calm. He said the battery bank was venting hydrogen and that we needed to disconnect it before the building exploded. That sounded possible. Old batteries could release gas if a charger failed, but the station had no active charger. Its backup batteries had been removed 3 years earlier. I told him that through the glass. His expression changed. He looked back toward the dark pickup and spoke into a handheld radio. I could not hear the words, but another person got out of the driver's side. I started the engine and drove across the site toward the storage shed. There was a narrow maintenance track behind it that followed the cliff before reconnecting with the main road. The man jumped away from the truck. The dark pickup accelerated to block me, but its rear wheels spun on the ice. I reached the maintenance track and kept going. The track was barely wider than the truck. On my right was a rock wall. On my left was a drop toward the ocean. I drove in first gear until I reached an old service junction beyond the ridge. When I regained cell service, dispatch told me the RCMP had arrived at the main gate. The dark pickup was gone. Inside the abandoned building, officers found portable radio equipment, marine charts, several fuel containers, and a computer connected to an improvised antenna. The computer had access to archived government maintenance accounts, including employee records from multiple contractors. They also found photographs of commercial vessels, ferry schedules, and handwritten lists of vehicle license plates. Nobody was arrested that night. The pickup had left by another trail leading toward a seasonal fishing property. Its plates had either been removed or covered. The official explanation was that the building had been used for organized theft. Someone had apparently been monitoring marine and maintenance traffic to identify unattended sites, fuel deliveries, and equipment shipments. That explained the old portal, my employee number, and the false service request. It did not explain the disconnected phone line. Our engineers traced the call record for weeks. The system showed that it had entered through physical copper wiring assigned to Cape Alder Station. That cable had been cut at both ends in 2008. Before the building was sealed, I returned with an investigator to remove the radio equipment. In the corner, where the old telephone had once been mounted, someone had written 6 digits on the concrete wall. my employee number. They belonged to the technician who had disconnected the line 11 years earlier. He had disappeared during a winter fishing trip 2 months after finishing that job.